right, guys, we're back again with another great episode of PFREI, a passion for real estate investments. I'm your host, Fuquan Bilal. Today we have Eric Feldman, and we also have Hannah McFadden. Welcome to the show, guys. They're from McFadden Feldman Law. That's correct, right?
That's right.
That's right. All right, awesome. We were just chatting up a bit before we got started. I'll let you jump into your elevator pitch or your 30-second story, as you call it. This is going to be an interesting interview. This is actually the first law firm I've interviewed. And to let you know, Eric, that was the whole reason that I started this podcast. It was really to bring on attorneys, whether it's real estate attorneys, SEC attorneys, financiers, people who are in the space, fund managers, because there's a lot of stuff out on social media I see when people are looking to do joint ventures or just real estate in general. There's a lot of legal jargon that's thrown out from people who are not attorneys. And I'm like, this is crazy. Somebody need to create a platform where questions can get answered, by people who actually have license to answer legal questions. So this is going to be great. So tell the listeners a little bit about, your background, and then Hannah can talk about hers, and then we'll jump into the interview.
For sure. So a little bit about us. I started the firm back in 2005, I want to say. So it's been a while. And it was originally called Eric Feldman and Associates. We had started doing real estate transactions, both residential and commercial.
It's all good.
And then we moved into, we did work with a lot of investors and developers, and Chicago in particular was a pretty active market at that time. Then 2008 hit, where default became popular, let's say. And so we had expanded into eviction work, foreclosure work, other default title related items, bankruptcy related to real estate. So, and then from there, we expanded out into Wisconsin and Indiana. So we do that type of stuff as well in those states.
Awesome. And Hannah, how about you?
Hi, so much. So thanks for having us on. We really appreciate it. I joined Eric about 10 years ago, fresh out of law school, and we now have been together for quite a long time. So never a crossword between us. But I head up our default side of the practice. So anything under the eviction, foreclosure, bankruptcy, be it a land contract, a mortgage, or note. That's my side, and Eric heads up our residential and commercial real estate and corporate entity side of the practice.
That's awesome. Now, there's one question, Eric, I always ask everyone when they get on the show is, why are you passionate for real estate? Like, why did you pick to do this part of it instead of slip and fall or, contracts?
I was relegated. I just like to live a very modest lifestyle. I wouldn't know what to do if I won, multi-million-dollar cases every week. So I just wouldn't know what to do with the money. So no, I've always been interested in real estate. Quite honestly, it started probably with my love for architecture. And here, I'll give you a perspective. I'm driving right now in Chicago, and this is my view. If you can see any of this. And to grow up under these circumstances and with these beautiful buildings that evolve all the time, different ways, it is easy to be passionate about it. So I realized that I'm not smart enough to be an architect or mathematical enough to do so. So I was like, yeah, I'll be a lawyer and I'll get into real estate. So I've always found it interesting in the contents of the deal, working with developers and investors. It's so exciting, and to understand sort of the mathematics behind it. And there's always a lot of creativity too. There's options, and it is fun to be in court. And I did do some of that work back in the day, and we do obviously some of it now with respect to foreclosures and evictions. But But the real estate and the transactional side for me is still, still more exciting. So.
Awesome. Now let's just talk about the elephant in the room right away. We have this whole, 1 year later, it's COVID, and the moratoriums are still in a lot of states with the foreclosures and evictions. Like, what are you seeing on your side as the attorney? Because some of the attorneys are just folding their arms and saying, there's nothing I can do with evictions. Some attorneys are being creative, maybe triggering lawsuits to get a money judgment before the eviction and use that as a negotiating tool with the residents to kind of get them out or do cash for keys. It's just a lot of different things that are happening in the space. What are you guys seeing in your firm, and what type of strategies? Not strategies. What are you guys doing to help these landlords mitigate any losses that they're taking from people who are gaming the system, so to speak? Whether it's a homeowner also gaming in foreclosure. If you guys are doing some foreclosure work on the paper side of the business, what are you seeing on that side, and how are you helping investors or landlords mitigate the rough waters that they are now?
Sure. So I'll speak to evictions first. Now, in Illinois, Indiana, and Wisconsin, you are able to proceed with an eviction with the caveat, as the investor, you have to be aware that at any time during the process, if the tenant comes to court and presents that they are a protected person under the CARES Act, depending upon the county and the state, that will then halt the eviction process. So what we've been doing, we've started is sending out a initial CARES Act letter to see if the tenant will respond. A large number of investors have also been offering some cash for keys. What we want to do is be absolutely certain that we are not threatening them in any way, but we slowly but surely are able to proceed with evictions. But the investor just has to be aware that it could be stopped at any time if the tenant comes to court and presents that they are a protected tenant. So the waters are still a little bit unclear as to how it's going to play out, but we are proceeding with evictions in all 3 states with the caveat of what I've said.
Yeah, it's kind of tough because, most investors come to their legal counsel for solutions, and it's really tough that, it's okay. It depends. We can do it, but it depends. That's the attorney favorite word, right?
Nobody likes to hear that. I get it. So that's for sure.
On the paper side, with the moratoriums on foreclosures and everything else, and beautiful views.
Nice, right?
Yeah.
Like trying to get to the office.
Is there anything good happening for investors who are trying to? Because the foreclosure. Even though me as a note investor as well, I never want to foreclose and take someone home. I would rather work it out and get the payment. I don't want the property. But when you have someone who's not paying, and most investors know that foreclosure is the tool to get them to the table to speak to you to work something out. And now that most investors don't really have that tool, what are you seeing on your end, Eric?
Well, so
I think it's important to.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think it's important to differentiate right off the bat between a conventional loan where we are able to proceed with foreclosure because it is not held to any government moratorium. There might be county-specific moratoriums, such as in Cook County, but if an investor has a loan that is conventional in nature, we are able to proceed with foreclosure.
Okay. Awesome. That's a good point. Yeah, I don't think a lot of investors are aware of that. So I appreciate you bringing that up. So you're saying if it's most of the paper that's purchased anyway from the market is conventional. It's rare unless they are, a big entity buying FHA paper. Most of that stuff is conventional. Maybe lines of credit, and or a purchase money mortgage that are conventional. So that's great. So you actually are able to start to move forward. Now there's a lot of backlog, right?
Press the button and take the parking ticket.
There's a lot of backlog cases, right?
There hasn't been a large number of backlog that we've been seeing in foreclosures, where I believe that the large backlog is going to be, from everyone that I'm talking to and, reading about, is that it's going to be in the eviction realm of, and that's why, circling back to what I was saying previously, some investors are saying, despite, the attorney talk of it's not a real clear solution, it might be dependent upon what a judge is going to do with the eviction. They're rightfully tired of waiting. So they want to try to get in before the backlog happens of people who haven't been paying rent for the last 15 months.
Yeah. Interesting.
So I would like to add a little bit here, because there's been so much uncertainty and back and forth as to how things are going to be handled, not only, with respect to COVID, but, that really all this huge ripple effect is that it's important to understand and follow and stay on top of all the nuances that are going on. And Cook County is where we are. We're located in downtown Chicago. Cook County is that jurisdiction. So, already pre-COVID, Cook County has been a very challenging place to do this kind of business because of all the rules and regulations and nuances, and it's even more so now. So, sort of the long and the short of it is that we've have to stay on our toes. We've done so. There's never been a more important time to have the right counsel and the right people dealing with your investments, whether it's attorneys, whether it's other type of service providers and consultants and vendors. It's really, really important now because things are changing daily. And not only on the sort of medical front, but certainly on the legal front with respect to evictions and foreclosures. Every judge now has different rules. Every courtroom is different. So, that's been sort of our challenge, but also the challenge that we face with our own clients who like and trust us and are dealing with some of the challenges. And we're just doing the best that we can to advise people and keep them also abreast of what's going on and try and help them through the best path possible.
Yeah, it's weird because even myself as an investor used to moving at warp speed, and now it's like the total opposite, where you have to take day by day and be a little bit more patient and just keep your ear to the ground so you learn organically what's happening out there and being abreast to the rules and regulations that's changing literally on a daily basis. So that's the tough part, I would say, for us investors to navigate. And I know you guys feel the frustration on your end as well, and constantly trying to figure out loopholes or ways to kind of move the file along a little quicker to get the result for the investors. So I definitely get that. And would you say in the 3 states that you're operating in, you saying Chicago is the toughest? Not Chicago. Illinois is the toughest state where you are now as far as eviction and foreclosure moratoriums, or is one of the other states a little bit more challenging?
I would say in Cook County, I will give you, to speak to what you've, I want to, say that Cook County, for example, has come out since COVID began with what they call general administrative orders dictating what we can and cannot do. So 15 of those is about on a monthly basis. They are trying to come up with, you can, in Cook County, for example, you can proceed on a foreclosure through sale if the property is vacant or abandoned. If the property is not vacant or abandoned, you can only proceed up until judgment. I do want to mention for investors that to keep in mind that the CARES Act only covers non-payment of rent. So if you have a tenant who's living in the property and is, not paying taxes, or, there's been nuisance complaints or and evictions are not barred under the CARES Act for those type of items. It's only for non-payment of rent. So I think that's an important thing to keep in mind and to differentiate between.
Yeah, that's a good point. We actually were able to get some tenants out because of the condition of the property and the disturbance and everything else. Look at those buildings. Eric, you're showing off now.
I'm trying to, give the audience some
that's beautiful.
they don't want to look at me in a mask. They want to look at, some cool stuff.
We're on the streets of downtown Chicago.
I know it's not very busy, so.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's almost like New York. It's like a ghost town.
Yeah, I mean, certainly compared to what it was, but some really, look, it gives you more of an opportunity to enjoy the architecture. I don't know if you can see the curvature of the building, but look at this stuff. You don't see this so often. So,
yeah, it's beautiful.
Or at least pay attention to it. Now I don't have to worry about banging into people on the sidewalk. I can look at the architecture.
Social distancing at its best.
This is the church where the Mayor Daley family was a part of the congregation, and it's right in the middle of downtown Chicago. It's pretty impressive that it's still here amidst all this craziness. Anyway, I can go on for a long time. That's our next one. We'll do an architectural walking tour of downtown Chicago.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I think you're seeing a pattern here. Eric really doesn't want to be in a church. He wants to be like a Chicago architect or something.
Right. So are you guys seeing an insurgence of more work now, or has it slowed down for you guys? I mean, I know work is piling up, but I know that investors are still, I know the real estate market is where I am is booming. What are you guys seeing? Are you seeing more real estate transactions happening more than on the paper side now? How is it where you are, Eric and Hannah? Is it more real estate transactions?
On the transactional, so we've seen a lot of like the core, somewhat urban and I don't know, I'd say dense areas have seen a little bit of a decline. So I've seen a bit of a decline as to their value. There's been quite a few people that have left those areas.
So kind of slowed down in
I guess I can't do that. But what we've seen is that a lot of the other areas have seen great growth. So areas of the city, neighborhoods of the city that were not as dense as some of the core areas, they've seen great growth, great appreciation. I mean, 10 to 15% year over year, which is somewhat unheard of in Chicago. Chicago is always a very stable economy. It has a lot of different, diverse types of businesses. So it has always been a sort of a good economy, but it's slow growth, right? It's not something that you're going to see in Miami or Vegas or Phoenix or things like that, where you're going to see those big spikes, but also those big lows. So, or California, I guess. So Chicago is just consistent. You're looking at lower percentage growth, but this year, huge spikes. Even the suburbs have seen places with decent school districts. It's just accelerated the pace of people leaving urban areas and dense areas to, bringing their very young families out to the suburbs where they probably would have waited for a while, because Chicago is a great place to raise kids. There's many neighborhoods in the city that are great, but when it got so crazy and a little bit dangerous and some other things, people said, you know what, I was going to move in 3 or 4 years and now I'm going to do it now. And so we've seen, the suburbs having very great appreciation, which is, exciting because suburbs are usually pretty slow growth anyway. But in Chicago area has been great. So yeah, lots of very good opportunities. The economy continues to move forward here. But again, I mean, if you're looking at hitting the grand slam and home run, within a year or two of an investment,
this probably isn't the right market for you. This is a place where you'll have consistent growth, over time. You're in it for the long haul. So the turtle will win the race here. So
yeah, I mean,
stick to
any
those.
smart investor would know long term is always best.
Yeah.
Those markets that rapidly increase are always the first to crash or first to decline, because there's just so much speculation that's happening. There's a lot of phantom equity in those markets. But one other thing I wanted to touch about, we talked about before we press record, was the document curation. You mentioned that, for your note side, if, most of the document custodians will do this work, but you mentioned, hey, if you need to get an assignment recorded, or you need us to go up the chain and fill in the blanks with the alarms and reach out to the person who assigned it over and get all that stuff done, you provide the note investors with some of that work as well too, right?
Exactly. So we provide A to Z note transaction services, even do escrow services associated with it. So, and any of the title work that's involved or could be involved, in making sure that you're doing, that everything is moving in the right chain. If we need some corrections, we do that. We get hired by some of the largest document custodians in the country to handle the challenges that exist in the Cook County area. A lot of these areas do need certain types of inspections or transfer stamps or other things with respect to real estate transactions. But even on the note transactional side, recording a document in Cook County is not anywhere near what it is in other counties. So there are challenges. It just depends on where and what and the circumstances. And we've handled that curative work for 15 years. So a trusted partner to investors directly, to servicers who are dealing with this on a daily basis, to very, very large custodians who, while they're very good at some other markets, this is a tough one and you really need boots on the ground. So, and that's what we provide.
Awesome. I thank you guys for coming to the show. I really appreciate it. Their website is efalaw.com, correct? efalaw.com.
Well, yes, we're in the midst of changing it because we changed our name to name Hannah as the named partner. And so we're in the process, but that site is good. It's our Eric Feldman and Associates. That's what EFA is.
Also, you guys are also on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook as well, right? EFA Law Chicago on Facebook, Eric Feldman on LinkedIn, and I'm pretty sure Hannah McFadden is there as well. Yes. And on Instagram is EFA.law on Instagram. Wow, this is the first attorney I've seen on Instagram.
Go check it out. We have some funny things.
That probably was Hannah's idea.
Right.
No, that was definitely a Feldman idea, and I think
I'm just teasing. He's like, we gotta get on Instagram. We gotta get on IG.
Right.
I made him promise not to mention his TikTok. So
I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna actually look that up. I know. I'm gonna look that up. I know it.
You can see Type A in the partnership, obviously. Yes, we're on all of those platforms. So if anyone has any questions about what we've said, we are happy to help and try to navigate these uncertain waters, because it's all about having the right partner these days.
Absolutely. And I'm not sure we have like over 50 different attorneys that we use, but I definitely want to see if my asset managers are utilizing your services. I'm not sure we are, but if we're not, we should be. So I made a note of that during the interview to reach out to my asset manager and say, hey, are we using these guys? I know we have some footprint.
Great.
Yeah.
No, really appreciate it. We'll talk offline.
Absolutely. Thanks again for coming to the show. Another great episode of PFREI, Passion for Real Estate Investments. I'm your host, Fuquan Bilal. You can catch us on all the social media channels, iTunes, and all that good stuff. I won't make the list because they're too long, but another great episode. I appreciate you guys for coming on. Be sure to like us on Facebook and check us out on Instagram and all that other stuff. Have a great day. Appreciate it.
Will do. Thanks so much. Take care. Enjoy the spring.